Leave her.
They left the best sniper in the rain. She came back with SEALs behind her. They told her to wait in the rain while they handled the real job. The thunder rolled, her boots sank in red mud, and 4 men laughed under a dry canopy. What they didn't know was that the girl they'd left behind had once taken a 1,000-yard shot that changed history. Rain poured like it meant to erase her. Staff Sergeant Lena Briggs stood alone on the firing line at Fort Benning, the Georgia air heavy with clay and thunder. Her uniform was soaked, sleeves rolled tight, eyes narrowed behind a dripping patrol cap. 30 meters away, under a metal shed, 4 male ranger candidates laughed like they'd just beaten the weather. And her. "Leave the girl," one of them said. "She'll catch a cold before she hits anything." Their laughter carried through the storm. Lena said nothing. Her radio, clipped to her vest, hummed faintly with static. They didn't know it was live on the shared operations channel. Somewhere, someone could hear every word. The range officer had gone for coffee an hour ago. It was just her, 4 men, and the storm. Lena shifted the sling on her shoulder and waited. Her rifle case rested against the mud-slick pickup she'd driven out from the compound. Government plates caked in red dirt. She had arrived early, as she always did. The men hadn't looked at her twice, until they realized she'd be running their evaluation. She had the longest confirmed sniper kill in her battalion's record. But to them, she was a mistaken uniform. Wherever you're watching from, maybe you know what it feels like to stand in the rain while people under the roof laugh at you, to know exactly what you're capable of, and still be told to wait your turn. Lena exhaled slowly. Patience. Her father had taught her that. The sound of thunder rolled again, low and steady, like something waking up eastern Montana. 12 years earlier, a girl in a faded jacket stood in a frozen pasture, wind howling across the plains. Her father, a Marine Scout sniper from the first Gulf War, adjusted the scope on a battered Remington and said, "Wind doesn't care how old you are. It only cares if you can read it." Lena was 9. Her fingers ached from the cold, her cheeks raw from the wind. But she never complained. She stared downrange at the tin can sitting on a fence post 200 yards away. She pulled the trigger. The can spun into the air. Her father didn't praise her. He just nodded and set another target farther out. That was how she learned. Not through compliments, but through distance. If she hit it, she earned it. If she missed, she adjusted. Their land stretched forever. No neighbors, no shortcuts. She learned to fix fences, ride horses, and call wind off the way the grass bent. She learned silence from winters that felt endless. When she was 13, her mother died in a rollover accident 60 miles from the nearest hospital. Lena never forgot that drive. The sound of her father's voice breaking over the CB radio, calling for help that never came. After that, it was just the 2 of them. And the rifle. She enlisted at 18. Passed RASP with scores that made instructors double-check the roster. Graduated from the Special Operations Target Interdiction course with near-perfect shooting marks. The boys in her class said she must have cheated. She didn't argue. She just outshot them again. Now, years later, that same girl, the one who could read wind by instinct, stood in the Georgia rain, waiting for 4 grown men to stop laughing long enough to learn something. When Lena finally spoke, it was calm, almost polite. "All right, gentlemen. Course of fire is simple. 600 meters, 800, then cold bore shot at 1,000. Steel silhouettes. You'll have 3 minutes per stage." Specialist Durbin smirked. "Cute. You ever actually hit a grand before, Staff Sergeant?" Sergeant Kellum laughed. "Maybe she's here to take notes for when the real instructor shows up." Lena didn't flinch. "The real instructor is standing right here. You're welcome to pack up if you don't believe that." They exchanged looks, the kind of silent agreement that comes from ego, not courage. Durbin stepped forward. "Tell you what, ma'am. You go first. Show us how it's done." She didn't hesitate. "Fine, set your targets." The 4th man, Corporal Vance, didn't say a word. His eyes followed her every move, expression unreadable. The youngest, Private Owens, looked uneasy, like he already knew they were crossing a line. Lena walked back to her truck and opened the rifle case. Inside was her M2010, matte black, precision cleaned, the same rifle she carried on her last deployment. Every part had a history. She ran her thumb across the receiver, feeling for scratches she knew weren't there. Loaded 5 rounds. Checked her dope. Adjusted for temperature and pressure. The rain had turned to mist, soft but unrelenting. When she dropped prone on the firing mat, the world went silent. Her breath steadied. Her heartbeat slowed. Kelch muttered, "Let's see if she can hit paper." The shot broke clean. Steel rang at 1,000 yards, loud, sharp, echoing through the rain. Then another, and another. 5 rounds, 5 hits, all center mass. Lena stood, slung the rifle, and turned toward them. Any questions? The laughter was gone. Only silence, and when the sound of rain answered. She was packing her gear when the radio cracked. "Benning range control, this is Commander Holt, SEAL Team 3. Copy." Lena froze. The name hit her like static in the chest. Commander Jake Holt. She'd served with him in Syria 2 years earlier. He was a man who never raised his voice but carried authority like gravity. "This is Staff Sergeant Briggs." "Go ahead, Commander." There was a pause. Rain hissed against the truck bed. "Briggs?" His voice came steady, professional. "You still on the range?" "Affirmative." "Good, I've got a situation. We're running a live-fire intercept drill. My sniper went down with a shoulder injury. I need someone who can make precision shots under pressure." He hesitated, just a breath. "I've been monitoring the shared range channel." "Heard everything." The men froze. Their faces shifted, confusion, embarrassment, disbelief. Holt continued, "You still capable, Staff Sergeant?" Lena's answer was short. "Always." "Then grab your gear. You've got 40 minutes to get here." The radio clicked silent. Rain fell harder, drumming on the truck roof. Durbin swallowed hard. "Wait, that was the Commander Holt?" Lena didn't answer. She threw her pack in the truck bed and secured the rifle case. Kelch took a step forward. "Ma'am." She stopped him with a look sharp enough to cut through the storm. "Your qualifications postponed. Schedule it through range control." Then she climbed into the truck, started the engine, and drove off, tires spitting mud, wipers slicing through the downpour. The men stood there, drenched now, staring after the taillights fading into the fog. Owens whispered, "What the hell just happened?" Vance finally spoke, voice low. "We just got taught by the best, and we didn't even say thank you." The rain didn't let up. It chased her north across the back roads, through pine corridors and long stretches of red mud that looked like open wounds in the earth. The wipers worked overtime, clicking back and forth like a metronome marking her heartbeat. Lena's hands were steady on the wheel. Her jaw set, eyes sharp, the reflection of lightning flickering across her face. She didn't turn on the radio. The silence was her company. The same silence that had always been there in deserts, in mountains, and now, in the rain. She thought about what Holt said. He'd heard everything. That meant the SEALs knew. Every word those men said. Every laugh. Every dismissal. Part of her wanted to forget it. But another part, the one that grew up on a ranch where nobody came to help, burned quietly inside. She reached the perimeter gate, flashed her credentials, and drove into the Naval Annex training compound, a restricted site 20 miles north of Benning. Commander Holt was waiting, standing under a tarp with a folded map and a half-empty thermos. Same look as always, calm, unreadable, the kind of composure that came from too many real operations and too little sleep. He smiled when he saw her. "Heard you were still making people regret underestimating you." Lena smirked. "Just keeping busy, sir." "Good, because you're up in 20. He handed her a mission brief. Simulated hostage rescue, wind shifting northwest. Live fire interdiction between 400 and 900 meters. She scanned it quickly. The plan was clean, precise. Her kind of work, Holt said softly. We're running lean. Need someone who doesn't miss. Lena chambered a round, rain dripping off her cap. Then you called the right girl. By dusk, the ridge was swallowed in fog. Lena lay prone behind her rifle, the M2010 braced against wet gravel. The compound below flickered with faint floodlights, shapes moving through smoke and rain. She could taste the metallic air, the scent of oil and ozone mixing with mud. Her spotter, a SEAL named Ruiz, crouched beside her. Winds dancing left to right, 6 to 10 knots. You good? Always. Targets between 550 and 840. You'll get calls on command, copy. The comms crackled. Holt's voice came through, calm and sure. Execution window in 30. Briggs, you've got overwatch. Make it quiet. The rain eased into mist. Lena blinked the water off her lashes and peered through the scope. The reticle hovered steady on her first target, a steel plate barely visible between two rusted oil drums. Her breathing slowed. She remembered her father's voice. Wind doesn't care how old you are. It made her smile. Small. Quick gone before Ruiz noticed. Engage, Holt said. The shot broke. Steel rang. 1, 2, 3. Every impact clean. The SEAL team advanced, silent shadows through the compound. She shifted, adjusted, fired again, 7 rounds. 7 hits, then a final call. Last target, 880 meters, moving. She tracked, led the silhouette by half a second, squeezed, impact. The mission ended in 12 minutes. No misses, no callouts. No noise but the rain and the rhythm of her heartbeat. Holt's voice returned. That's why I called you. Lena lowered the rifle and looked through the fog where the team disappeared. The silence after the shot felt sacred. Not triumph, not pride, just proof. Proof that she still belonged. Somewhere deep inside, she wished those 4 men back on the range could have seen this. Back in the command tent, steam rose from a field kettle. The SEALs laughed quietly, peeling off wet gear, the air thick with that post-mission calm only soldiers understand. Lena sat alone on a folding chair, disassembling her rifle piece by piece, wiping it dry with slow, practiced hands. Ruiz approached, holding 2 mugs. Hot cocoa. Don't ask. Holt says you earned it. She smiled faintly and accepted it. Appreciate it. He sat beside her. Heard about what happened down at Benning. Holt wasn't happy. He shouldn't be. But I'm not losing sleep, Ruiz chuckled. You're colder than this rain, Briggs. Just used to it. Silence stretched for a while. Outside, thunder rolled again, softer now, like it was leaving. She looked down at her hands. The same hands that had carried her through firefights, patched friends' wounds, buried her father when cancer finally won. She flexed her fingers, watched the tendons move under skin. Ever get tired? Ruiz asked. She thought about it. Not of shooting. Just approving, he nodded. That's the hardest part. They sat like that until Holt stepped in. His tone was quiet, almost fatherly. Outstanding work tonight. You gave my team a clean run. You've still got the sharpest trigger discipline I've ever seen. Lena looked up. Thanks, Commander. Don't thank me. Just promise you'll keep showing up. She nodded once. Always. And for the first time that day, the rain stopped. 40 minutes south, dawn broke pale and silver. The air smelled like wet earth and old regrets. When Lena returned to Fort Benning the next morning, there was a message waiting on the training office door. 4 names. 1 request. Requesting to reschedule our marksmanship qualification under Staff Sergeant Briggs. Below, 3 signatures, Durbin, Kellum, Owens, and a 4th note written separately. I was wrong. I'd like to learn from you if you're willing. Vance. She stared at the paper for a long moment. No smile, no anger, just quiet understanding. Then she folded it, slipped it into her pocket, and walked to the armory. Later that week, she set up the same range, same targets, same red clay. Only difference, the weather was clear and 4 men stood waiting at parade rest, eyes forward, silent. No jokes. No laughter. Welcome back, gentlemen, she said softly. Durbin swallowed hard. Permission to speak freely, ma'am. Go ahead. We didn't know. Lena met his eyes. You didn't ask. He looked down, ashamed. Owens shifted nervously. Kellum exhaled. Vance simply nodded. She didn't scold them. Didn't humiliate them. She just said, "Load your rifles. We've got work to do." As they moved to the line, the wind picked up. Not rain this time, but a clean, steady breeze. The kind that carries a new beginning. They didn't see her smile. But it was there, small, quiet, like forgiveness whispered to the wind. The day was clear, the sun burning through mist, the smell of hot metal mixing with gun oil. Lena stood behind the line, clipboard in hand. The 4 men took their positions, this time no arrogance, no snide remarks. Just discipline, the kind that comes from a bruise on the ego that finally healed into humility. Durbin went first. His first shot hit low. He adjusted, fired again, hit. Lena nodded but said nothing. Owens followed. Steady breathing, clean trigger pull. Hit. His relief was visible. Shoulders dropped. Lips pressed in quiet gratitude. Kellum's hand shook on his first load. He forced a laugh to hide it, but Lena caught it. "Slow down," she said gently. "You're fighting the wind, not the clock." He took a breath, fired. Steel sang. When Vance's turn came, the range fell completely silent. He dropped to prone position, cheek welded to the stock, breath timed with heartbeat. The shot broke dead center. Lena exhaled softly. "That's how you do it." The 4 men turned to her, waiting for criticism, expecting it. Instead, she simply said, "Good shooting." It hit harder than any rebuke, because forgiveness when you least expect it feels heavier than guilt. Later, as they packed up, Vance approached her. "Ma'am, if you ever need a spotter." Lena smiled faintly. "I'll call." He nodded, understanding that was more than approval. It was trust. The men left the range different than they'd arrived. Quieter, sharper, and when they looked back at her one last time, standing alone with the sun glinting off her rifle, they finally saw not the girl in the rain, but the professional who'd earned every inch of respect she never asked for. That night, Lena sat in her quarters, the sound of cicadas filling the silence. Her uniform jacket hung neatly beside the bed, the sniper tab patch stitched sharp and proud. On her nightstand sat a framed photo, her father in fatigues, one arm around a 10-year-old girl holding a rifle too big for her hands. She picked it up, tracing the edge of the glass. The photo had faded, but his eyes hadn't. Steady, proud, knowing. "I hit the 1,000 again, Dad," she whispered. "Still your little girl with the big rifle." Her throat tightened, but she didn't cry. She hadn't in years. Grief had turned into something quieter, a companion she no longer feared. Outside, lightning flickered far off in the distance. She could almost hear his voice. "Wind doesn't care how old you are." She smiled. "Neither do I." Her phone buzzed. A message from Commander Holt. "SEAL Team 3 deploys next month. We'll need overwatch. You in?" Lena stared at it for a long moment before replying. "Always." Then she set the phone down, leaned back, and closed her eyes. For the first time in a long while, she felt at peace. Not because the world respected her now, but because she no longer needed it to. The rain had finally stopped, but she still carried its memory, not as pain, but as proof. Proof that sometimes being left in the storm is exactly what teaches you to see through it. 3 weeks later, the airfield at Naval Base Coronado shimmered with heat. Lena stepped off the C-130 with her gear slung over her shoulder, boots hitting the tarmac like punctuation marks. She wasn't here to impress anyone this time. She'd already done that. Commander Holt waited by a Humvee, arms crossed, a grin barely visible beneath the California sun. "Didn't think I'd get you out of Georgia this fast." "Didn't think I'd say yes this fast," she replied. He chuckled. "SEAL Team 3's got a joint training op with Delta. You'll run overwatch for the exercise." "Consider it." "A reunion." Lena raised an eyebrow. "Anyone I know?" Holt's grin widened. Maybe. Heard a few of your ranger boys volunteered. Her stomach flipped, not with fear, but irony. When she arrived at the range later that afternoon, 4 familiar faces were already there. Durbin, Kellum, Owens, and Vance, this time wearing humility like a second skin. Vance stepped forward. "Didn't know you'd be here, ma'am. Guess you'll have to shoot your best then," she said, setting up her rifle. The moment hung there, a quiet, perfect circle, the student and teacher, both changed by rain. When the first shot cracked across the desert wind, the echo stretched far beyond the range, beyond the field like an answer carried home. The desert air shimmered, heat rising in soft waves. Dust hung in the stillness like breath caught midair. The joint exercise had begun, and the range was alive again. Lena watched through the scope, scanning terrain that looked endless. Wind gusted hard from the west, 20 knots, unpredictable. Targets popped up and disappeared, steel silhouettes against a pale sky. She called wind corrections to the rangers, her rangers now. "Half mil left. Control your breathing. Don't fight the mirage. Use it." Vance adjusted. Hit Durbin followed. Hit Kellum cursed under his breath. Corrected, fired again. Hit Owens grinned and muttered. "Feels like déjà vu." Lena smirked without looking up. "This time you brought sunscreen." The SEAL team running the op watched from the ridge. Commander Holt observed quietly, arms folded. He knew what he was seeing, not just skill but redemption. The last stage came. Wind picked up. Target set at 1,200 meters, longer than any of them had trained for. Lena dropped prone, adjusting the M2010's bipod into the sand. "I'll show you once. Then it's yours." She steadied, exhaled, squeezed. The bullet cut through the shimmer. Impact. Clean. Perfect, like time had stopped to watch. She lifted her head and said, "Your turn." Vance went next. Missed by inches, adjusted, fired again, hit, then one by one. They all made it, and when the final echo faded, the desert was silent. The kind of silence that meant something sacred had just happened. The girl they'd once left in the rain had just taught them how to command the wind. That night the range was empty again. Same rain, same smell of iron and ozone. Lena stood where she had been left that first night years ago. The difference now was the silence didn't sting anymore. It was peace. A pickup's headlights cut through the fog. 2 silhouettes stepped out, Commander Walsh and a young recruit. The kid looked nervous, his boots too clean, his eyes darting everywhere. Walsh nodded to Lena. "Thought you'd want to see this one. He's good. Scored 98 at long range. Reminds me of someone." Lena cracked a faint smile. "Poor kid." The recruit hesitated, then asked softly, "Ma'am, are the stories true? About you and the SEALs?" Lena didn't answer at first. She just looked toward the target field where the rain shimmered like ghosts of bullets past. "Doesn't matter if they are," she said. "All that matters is, when they leave you in the rain, don't wait for the sun. Make your own." She lifted her rifle, not to fire but to hand it to him. "Range is yours, soldier." He nodded, shouldering it with reverence. The first shot cracked through the storm. Clean and perfect. They still tell the story at the academy, how the best sniper they ever had was told to wait in the rain. How she came back. Not with anger, but with a team that followed her through hell and back. Every time a rookie doubts themselves, someone points to her photo on the wall, Lena Cole, U.S. Army Ranger turned Navy SEAL partner, and says she didn't quit. She waited, and the world learned why. The rain outside the base hits the same rhythm it did that night. Except now, it sounds less like isolation, and more like applause. They say legends are born in the light, but the truth is, they're forged in storms. When no one believes in you, when the world calls you unfit, unwanted, or unworthy, remember Lena Cole. She wasn't chosen. She was left behind. But she waited in the rain, not for approval, not for rescue, for her moment, and when it came, she didn't come back alone. She brought an army of believers with her. So if today feels like your rain day, cold, quiet, and endless, don't curse the storm, stand in it, because one day, the same rain that tried to drown you will echo your victory.